Hello and welcome to News Across Nigeria. I'm Olumide Macaulay. On the program today, the National Judicial Council meets behind closed doors over arrest of judges as reactions continue to trail DSS action. Nigerian Air Force intensifies shelling of Boko Haram locations and logistics bases in the Sambisa forest. And Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark International Day for the Girl Child. Thank you so much for joining us. We begin in the north-central region of the country. The emergency meeting of the National Judicial Council is holding at the three-armed zone of the presidential villa in Abuja. From outside the building, also housing the nation's Supreme Court, all appears to be normal. However, journalists who'd gathered early enough to cover the meeting were barred from doing so, but an insider source confirms that the meeting indeed begun, and the meeting is exclusively for members of the NJC. It's coming on the heels of the arrest of High Court judges over corruption allegations. It has thrown up a lot of debate from a cross-section of society. While the NBA calls it absurd and unacceptable, the federal government insists that the ongoing trial of the judges alleged to be corrupt is that of those judges and not the entire judiciary, as argued by the NBA. This is perhaps the first time the Department of State Services will be making such sweeping arrests, and some believe that it's a hijack of the responsibilities of the Nigerian police. Today's meeting by the NJC is expected to make a pronouncement on the position of the body regarding the arrest of the High Court judges. Meanwhile, federal lawmakers are condemning the invasion of the homes, arrest and detention of those serving judges by the Department of State Security without deference to the constitutional responsibility of the National Judicial Council, the NJC. At the upper chamber, the chairman, Senate Committee on Judiciary, Senator Joshua Lidani, coming under matters of urgent national importance, brought it before the Senate at the resumption of plenary today. Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki says the Senate is in full support of the fight against corruption. However, government must ensure the war on corruption be done within the rule of law. The Senate is mandating its Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters to review all existing laws establishing security agencies and report in 4 weeks. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives is setting up an ad hoc committee to investigate what it terms the invasion of property and arrest of persons by the service since May 29, 2016. Representative Kingsley Chinda had presented the matter as a motion of urgent national importance, saying that the trend, if left unchecked, could result in the introduction of self-help by citizens. Away from the arrest of the judges, the Nigerian Air Force says it has, in the last 1 week, struck a number of Boko Haram locations, including their logistics bases within the Sambisa forest. In a statement by its spokesman, Group Captain Ayodele Famiwa, the Air Force says the airstrikes were conducted day and night using a combination of combat platforms comprising fighter aircraft, alpha jets, and helicopter gunships. The latest airstrikes against the terrorist group are fallouts of Operation Forest Storm, launched by the Nigerian Air Force on October the 2nd. This is to further degrade the capability of the Boko Haram elements within the Sambisa general area in order to create the enabling environment for the ground forces to continue their operation. Meanwhile, the National Security Advisor is asking regions battered by Boko Haram to join hands with the government to find solutions to the terrorist activities. The coordinator of Counter-Terrorism Center, Commodore Yem Musa, says the fight against terrorism should not be left to the government alone, but should involve every citizen, which is the reason for involving the people in the united action against terrorism.
The target here is to create a new awareness that will give a fresh bite to the counter-terrorism strategy across the nation. But the pilot project for now is focusing on the north, beginning from the north central and northwest. Participants are drawn from security operatives, civil service, civil society organization, as well as non-governmental organizations from Plateau, Nasarawa, Bauchi, and Gombe states.
It is beyond serious dispute that terrorism has a profoundly negative impact on the nation, its citizens, and the general disposition thereof. The carnage unleashed by the Boko Haram terrorist group has caused a devastating loss of life and properties in a grave menace that must be adequately tackled.
On his part, the Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong recounts government's efforts at prosecuting the war against terrorism, which he believes has yielded positive results with the military onslaught on the terrorist strongholds.
Thinking through our strategy, therefore, to permanently win a physical battle against any group which seeks to undermine the peace, security, and integrity of our nation under any religious, tribal, political, or extremist persuasion must vigorously be pursued and collectively sustained.
The program is not limited to state alone, but will also involve local government areas, organized private sector, and the public.
Focal point officers, by that I mean desk officers for the various ministries, departments, and agencies in the state and across the 4 states will be inaugurated. These are people that will have to act as liaison officers between their own state and the national level at the Center for Counterterrorism Centers in the Office of National Security Advisor.
With the commencement of the national sensitization on implementation of the national counterterrorism strategy across the nation, it will be expected that Nigerians will be more informed on strategies to apply in counterterrorism and consolidate on the achievements made so far in the war against terror.
To the southwest region of the country now, and the cost of repatriating Nigerians stranded in foreign countries is enormous, and those saddled with the responsibility of stopping trafficking in persons must increase their efforts. This advice is coming from the Director of Search and Rescue of the National Emergency Management Agency, Air Commodore Salisu Mohammed, when he received 154 Nigerians in Lagos. The returnees, mostly women, were brought back from Libya by the International Organization for Migration in collaboration with the Nigerian Embassy in Libya. Our correspondent Bukola Joe Ketumbi reports.
It's about the 4th time this year the voluntary assisted returnees from Libya are making their way back home. On board this aircraft are 154 Nigerians, and of this lot, for the first time, females outnumber males.
We had a total of 3 medical cases, and we had also about 9 females who we would regard them as vulnerable. Either they came with children or they were expectant. Most of them came from detention centers in Libya. They were not because they had committed any crime, but because they were in Libya illegally.
As they file out of the aircraft, the face of many remain despondent, and they have many tales of woe to tell.
One of my girlfriends that deceived me, that they have a housework to do. So I follow her to that place. So I see that the environment is not okay for me. So one day we are in living house. So police and I came to box the house. So they now took us, all of us, to prison. I spent almost 2 months and a half in prison.
My sister now carry me. It was my brother that brought me to Libya. They catch me on the road. I want to go to Tripoli without documents. 4 months.
These 3 young girls were lured to Italy, were stopped en route Libya, were arrested and kept in detention camps with many other Nigerians. Not willing to face the camera, they say never again to the suffering they went through. While the issue of illegal migration is pertinent, a top official of NEMA says how much repatriation costs and what campaigns are run to dissuade others.
The cost implication is very huge to the federal government. As we can see, we have to provide them a lot of services, medical services. We have to transport them back to their various states. And we also have the mandate to educate Nigerians. But on these particular issues, we encourage states and the National Orientation Agency to do more of this job because their mandate fits into this properly.
No fewer than 550 Nigerians have returned in batches from Libya since March, when the IOM started the voluntary return program.